Shido is a pathetic, lonely, worthless cis-con loser who can't even look girls in the eyes. But one day, he discovers that his sister runs a secret organization and now he's forced to rizz every hot spirit baddies and clap them in order to save the world. In the end, he ends up with a harem full of total baddies.
So, how do I look?
Shido was still snoring in bed when his little sister Katori came to wake him up. But like a Giga Chad, he tells her, if she didn't let him sleep, then the monster inside will destroy her sleep. That's how we're introduced to Shido. He finally gets up, heads to the kitchen, and starts making breakfast. While eating, they turn on the TV and see breaking news about another spacequake. Those strange, deadly energy explosions. The anchor explains that the first one happened 30 years ago. After that, they appeared every 5 years, but then suddenly stopped for 25 years. Until now, the latest one just hit their hometown, Tengu City. But Shido doesn't think much of it and just keeps eating with Katori. Later, while walking to school, Katori gets excited and begs Shido to take her to a restaurant one day. He agrees. As they're chatting, some girls pass by and start whispering after seeing how close they seem as siblings. It's a bit odd to them. Just then, Shido's friend Tanamachi, who's openly bi, joins the conversation and randomly starts talking about how he's gotten into a dating simulation game lately. During class, a mysterious girl with silver white hair suddenly calls Shido by name out of nowhere. He has no clue who she is, but she casually sits next to him. Confused, he turns to Tanamachi and asks, "Who is this girl?" Tanamachi is shocked he doesn't recognize her. She's the famous genius student, Origami Tobiichi. Throughout the class, she keeps staring at Shido without saying a word, which makes him super uncomfortable. After school, Tanamachi tells Shido they should head home together, but Shido says he has plans. Tanamachi jokes that the only girl who'd hang out with him is his sister, because with a face like his, no other girl would ever say yes. Shido shrugs it off and confirms that he's actually meeting Katori. Suddenly, emergency sirens start blaring all over the city. A massive spacequake is about to hit, and everyone rushes to emergency shelters. Shido gets worried, realizing that Katori might still be waiting at the restaurant. He tries calling her but can't get through. He quickly pulls up her GPS location, and yep, she's still there. He panics and runs out, determined to find her. But right then, the spacequake hits, and he's thrown back. When the chaos settles, Shido spots a beautiful girl standing calmly in the middle of the destruction, wearing some kind of glowing battle armor. Before he can figure out what's going on, she suddenly whips out a glowing sword and points it at him, assuming he's there to fight her. Shido freaks out and tells her he's not dangerous. He can't even kill a bug. Just then, missiles start flying in her direction. A group of armed soldiers shows up and starts attacking her. She activates a glowing force field that blocks all the attacks and charges at them, unleashing an insane amount of power. Shido watches in shock as another fighter joins the battle, and it's none other than Tobiichi, suited up and ready to go head-to-head with the armored girl. The fight between the two girls is intense. Their weapons collide, creating a giant shockwave that knocks Shido unconscious. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a futuristic medical room with a gloomy, sleepy-looking woman standing beside him. She introduces herself as Riani Murasame, the ship's analysis officer. She tells him he was brought here unconscious and that he's currently inside an airborne command ship called Fraxinus. Still dazed, Shido asks about Katori. Riani assures him she's fine and takes him to meet the person in charge, who turns out to be none other than Katori herself. But she's totally different now, dressed in a military uniform and acting like the boss. Shido is completely thrown off. Katori casually welcomes him to Ratatosker, the secret organization that she runs. Katori explains that the armored girl he saw during the quake isn't human. She's called a spirit, a powerful being from another dimension. Whenever a spirit appears on Earth, it causes spacequakes. That's why people are evacuated so quickly when a quake is detected. The military group that attacked her is known as AST. Their job is to hunt down and eliminate spirits to prevent further destruction. Katori then drops a major bomb. There's another way to deal with spirits. Instead of attacking them, Shido concealed their powers by making them fall in love with him. Yep, that's the mission. He has to go on romantic dates with these super-powered beings, and he starts his training the very next day. The following day, Shido is taken into a private room and introduced to a dating simulator game meant to train him in flirting. Katori grabs the controls and demonstrates how the game works. Later, Shido runs into Tobiichi and tries to bring up the spirit battle, but she shuts him down. She tells him she's on a personal mission to wipe out all spirits because she lost her parents in a spacequake 5 years ago. Her hatred runs deep. Later, Katori and Riani begin testing Shido's charm. They ask him to practice cheesy pickup lines on people. His first target, their homeroom teacher, who's been single for 29 years. Shido fails miserably with cringe-worthy lines. Riani steps in, feeds him some better lines, and the teacher reacts so strongly it freaks Shido out, so he runs away. On his way out, Shido bumps into Tobiichi and accidentally makes her fall, revealing her Katori pushes him to make a move, but his brain totally blanks out again. Riani helps him once more, and he ends up awkwardly asking Tobiichi on a date. She surprisingly says yes. Shido freaks out again and tries to explain it was a joke, but before he can say more, another spacequake alarm goes off. Tobiichi instantly heads out to suit up and fight. Meanwhile, the same spirit girl from before has reappeared and is hiding inside a school classroom, refusing to come out. Ast can't attack without risking civilian damage, so Katori tells Shido it's up to him to go in and talk to her. She assures him the team will guide him from the ship through an earpiece. Shido enters the classroom and is nearly vaporized by a surprise laser blast. He dodges just in time and tries to speak to the spirit calmly. The ship's crew quickly feeds him responses, but she gets angry and almost kills him again. She steps forward and prepares a powerful magic attack. Shido panics and tells her he's just a student, not there to hurt anyone. That calms her down. She recognizes him as the guy from before and lowers her weapon. He explains that he only wants to talk and that even if she ignores him, he won't walk away. Surprised by his honesty, the spirit blushes and admits no human has ever talked to her this way. When he asks for her name, she says she doesn't have one. So, he names her Toka because it's the 10th day of the month, the day they met. She really likes the name. Suddenly, Ast loses patience and opens fire. Toka creates a force field to block the bullets. She tells Shido to get out so he won't get hurt, but he refuses. He stays under the shield with her and continues the conversation. Katori urges him to ask her out, and when he does, Toka says she doesn't even know what a date is. Just as things start to calm down, Tobiichi shows up and sees them sitting together. She assumes Toka's holding Shido hostage. Toka pulls out her ultimate weapon, Sandalpon, a giant sword, and unleashes a destructive attack that wrecks the entire area. After the explosion, Toka vanishes, and Tobiichi is later shown being carried off badly wounded. The next morning, Shido is staring at the wreckage left behind from the previous fight when suddenly, Toka shows up behind him, catching him off guard. What really shocks him is that there was no spacequake alert this time. She smiles and reminds him that he invited her on a date. Shido, realizing she's still in her battle gear, her astral dress, tells her that it's not exactly date appropriate. To help her blend in, he shows her a picture of Tobiichi in a school uniform. Toka quickly changes her look with a little magic and copies the outfit. With her new look, their city date begins. As they walk around town, Toka starts devouring anything edible she sees. Literally anything that looks like food. While she's chewing on meat, she spots some dessert with white cream and immediately begs Shido to buy her some too. Meanwhile, Tobiichi is keeping a close eye on them from a distance, confused about how Toka could appear without causing a spacequake. Shido decides to ask Toka where she disappeared to the other day, and she explains that every time she vanishes, it's because she's pulled into a dark, empty world where she sleeps. She tells him that coming back into the human world isn't something she chooses. It just happens randomly when her sleep is interrupted. That's when Shido starts to understand something huge. Spirits like Toka don't cause the spacequakes on purpose. It's an uncontrollable side effect of their sudden arrival. Curious, he asks why one didn't happen this time. But Toka avoids the question and instead says she wants more meat, which he can't afford anymore. Eventually, they stop by a fancy restaurant. Shido tries to stop her from going in since he's broke, but Toka insists. Just when things get awkward, Tanamachi shows up and hands Shido some cash like a total lifesaver. Once inside the restaurant, Shido is shocked to see Riani already there. She casually says that they somehow managed to track and enter this dimension. As they take their seats, Katori also shows up out of nowhere. She recommends that Toka try the Overkill special course. Toka starts eating again like there's no tomorrow. Shido turns to Katori, asking what's really going on here. She casually says that she's just trying to help increase Toka's affection for him, since he's definitely not winning anyone over with his looks. Before leaving, she tells Shido to head toward the south side of the station when they finish. Following her advice, Shido continues the date with Toka. Suddenly, the area transforms into a large amusement park out of nowhere, clearly created by Ratatosker to spice up the mood and help Shido succeed in his mission. While they enjoy their time, Toka continues stuffing herself with meat. From the shadows, Tobiichi changes into her combat gear, ready to strike. As evening sets in, Toka tells Shido that she really enjoyed herself and has started to see humans in a more positive light. Before, she thought they all wanted to kill her, but now she understands why groups like Ast are after her, because her arrival unintentionally causes destruction. She begins to feel guilty and says she might not belong in this world. Shido reassures her, pointing out that no spacequake happened this time. But Toka says this might have just been a lucky break, next time could be worse. Shido then makes a bold move and asks her to stay in the human world for good. He promises to help her understand everything about this place. Toka warns him that people like Ast will never accept her, but Shidu tells her that he doesn't care. He accepts her no matter what. This shocks her, and she reaches out to hold his hand. Right at that moment, Tobiichi, who had been aiming at Toka with a sniper rifle, accidentally pulls the trigger, and instead of hitting Toka, she shoots Shidu straight in the chest. He drops to the ground, motionless. Tobiichi panics, horrified that she just killed him. Toka goes into full rage mode. She summons her astral dress and her massive sword, Sandalpon, then launches a deadly attack toward Tobiichi. Alarms ring out from Fraxinus as the system warns of a spacequake. The crew is freaking out over the city's safety, but Katori remains calm. When someone asks about Shidu, she coldly says that he's not going down that easily. Suddenly, Shidu's body starts glowing, and miraculously, he comes back to life. Everyone on Fraxinus is stunned. Katori immediately gives the order to retrieve him. Meanwhile, Toka is burning with rage. Her energy is overflowing as she gets ready to finish Tobiichi once and for all. Tobiichi, frozen in fear, starts to reflect on how she's really no different from the very spirits she hates. As she accepts her fate, Toka prepares the final blow. But just in time, Shidu falls from the sky. Toka instantly flies up, catches him, and hugs him tightly. The power in her sword suddenly overloads from the emotion, and the crew fears it might destroy everything. Katori shouts at Shidu to kiss her now. He does it without hesitation, and immediately, her spirit powers are sealed once again. Her outfit disappears, and they float back to the ground. Toka smiles and asks Shidu if they can go on another date. He agrees, though his wallet is basically dead. A few days later, while walking, he sees a young girl fall in the rain. He runs to help, but she quickly pulls away and tells him not to hurt her. He's confused and concerned. The next day, it rains again, even though the forecast said it wouldn't. Passing the same spot, he remembers the girl and her creepy little puppet. When he gets home, he goes straight to the bathroom, only to walk in on Toka, completely naked. He rushes to ask Katori what the hell Toka is doing living in their house. Katori casually explains that after the kiss, a special bond was created between them, sealing her powers. Because of that, they're now spiritually linked. Shidu asks how that's possible. Katori says they only figured it out through analysis at Ratatoskr. Riani then adds that if Toka's emotions go haywire, her sealed powers might flow back into her. Since she feels safest near Shidu, it's best for her to stay with them for now, until a proper home for spirits is built. Katori also mentions this gives Shidu more opportunities to practice handling other spirits, which makes him wonder why he needs to deal with any more girls after sealing Toka's powers. She drops the bomb that there are still more spirits out there needing his special talent. She sets up a bunch of training exercises to help Shidu get cozy with Toka, but every time he messes up, Toka gets flustered and whacks him for being a perv. The next day, Mana and Tobiichi argue over Shidu again like usual. Suddenly, a new spacequake alert pops up, and everyone is evacuated. Tobiichi gears up for battle. Meanwhile, Riani tells Shidu that Toka's powers are sealed, so she's pretty much useless in battle now and shouldn't be exposed to danger. He hands Toka over to their teacher and rushes to Fraxinus. There, they discover the spirit currently being attacked is the same blue-haired girl Shidu saw a few days ago, Yoshino. Determined to save her, he suits up and enters the building where Yoshino is hiding. She's quiet, but her puppet does all the talking for her, which creeps him out. Katori warns Shidu that Yoshino's mood is crashing fast. He tries cheering her up by asking her out, but she thinks he's literally talking about dates on a calendar. Meanwhile, Toka learns from some loose-lipped crew members that Shidu is out in danger and immediately rushes out to find him. Yoshino is standing up high, trying to keep her balance like she's in the circus. Shidu tries to get her down, but she slips and falls, accidentally kissing him. Toka sees this from a distance and loses it, asking Shidu if this was what he came to do. He's speechless. Katori alerts him that Toka's sealed powers are reawakening. Now furious, Toka starts yelling like a scolding girlfriend. Yoshino's puppet even insults her, saying Shidu must be tired of her and wants someone new. Toka grabs the puppet and threatens to shut it up permanently. Yoshino rushes over to take it back, but Toka refuses and demands that Shidu choose between her and Yoshino. Katori warns that Yoshino's mental state is collapsing. Shidu tries to calm Toka and tells her to give the puppet back, but that only makes her more upset. She thinks he's choosing Yoshino. Suddenly, Yoshino summons her powerful ice creature, Zadkiel, who starts attacking. Shidu protects Toka from the chaos, but Yoshino escapes by riding her ice beast as Ast fires at her. She manages to escape. Back at the building, Shidu tries to comfort Toka, but she pushes him away, thinking he clearly prefers Yoshino now. After everything that happened, Toka was feeling really down and completely shut herself off from Shidu. She avoided him completely, refusing to speak. Riani decided to personally check on her and give her a bit of emotional support, hoping to figure out what was going on in Toka's head. Meanwhile, Katori and Kayue were back at the building trying to make sense of the situation between Shidu and Yoshino. They were confused. Shidu kissed Yoshino, so why didn't that seal her powers like it did with Toka? Something didn't add up. At the same time, Shidu was wandering around outside in the rain when he spotted Yoshino. She was looking all over the place for her puppet, which had been lost during her escape from Ast. Wanting to help, he went to assist her. Back in her therapy session, Riani gently told Toka that the kiss between Shidu and Yoshino didn't mean anything. She said Shidu only acted like that because he genuinely cared about Toka and even risked his life to protect her. While Shidu helped Yoshino search, her stomach let out a loud growl. Feeling sorry for her, he invited her back home for a meal. After she ate, he asked her why she didn't just fly away when Ast attacked her. Yoshino quietly explained that she hates pain and scary stuff, just like anyone else, but when she's afraid, she loses control and ends up hurting people without meaning to. That's why she relies so much on her puppet. It keeps her calm when things get too intense. Shidu gently patted her head and promised to help her find the puppet. Then, he added that she wouldn't need it anymore, because he would be the one to protect her from now on. She was clearly touched. Embarrassed, Shidu apologized for kissing her the other day, but Yoshino didn't even know what a kiss was. So, being the genius he is, he leaned in to demonstrate. Right as he was about to kiss her, the front door burst open and Toka stormed in. She had come to apologize for the way she treated him, but froze when she saw the two in a very suspicious position. Fuming with jealousy, she left without saying a word and later took out all her frustration on her poor, innocent pillow. Later, Shidu got intel that Yoshino's missing puppet had been located in Tobiichi's house. He rushed over to her place and rang the bell. She let him in and offered him some nasty-looking tea before disappearing into the bathroom. While she was gone, Shidu used the opportunity to sneak around her place like a total thief until he finally found the puppet. He quickly sat back down and tried to act normal. Tobiichi came back, looking a little too comfortable as she sat close to him. Despite being distracted, Shidu asked her why she hated spirits so much. He tried explaining that not all spirits were dangerous, using Toka and Yoshino as examples. But she wasn't having it. She said a spirit took her parents away 5 years ago, and no matter what anyone said, she couldn't forgive them. Shidu explained that Toka's powers were sealed now, so she wouldn't cause any damage anymore. Still, Tobiichi said no one could guarantee that things wouldn't go wrong again. Shidu pleaded with her to at least try understanding spirits and not immediately treat them as enemies. She didn't give a straight answer. Before she could say more, her phone rang. Another spacequake was coming. She stood up, ready to leave, but Shidu quickly asked if a spirit has lost her powers, would you still attack her? She paused for a second and said that although she might want to, the final decision wasn't hers, it was up to her superiors. Meanwhile, Ast caught up with Yoshino and began attacking again. Yoshino tried to run, but they knocked her down. She panicked and called out Zadkiel, her massive ice monster, which started fighting back. Ast kept firing while Yoshino escaped. Toka spotted the situation from a distance and rushed in. At the same time, Shidu called out to Yoshino from afar. He tried to hand her puppet back, but before he could reach her, Tobiichi shot a high-powered laser at Yoshino. It hit her hard, and Zadkiel started charging a deadly counterattack, not caring that Shidu was standing right there. Toka saw it happening and panicked. She tried summoning Sandalpin to save him, but it wouldn't work. Her powers were sealed. Just before the blast hit, she forced her power out and activated her sword, managing to block the attack just in time. After saving him, Toka ran over and apologized to Shidu for acting out earlier, while Ast kept blasting away at Yoshino. Shidu told Toka he needed her help, but she got the wrong idea again and thought he just liked Yoshino better. Shidu explained that she was a spirit just like Toka, and he promised to protect her too, just like he did for Toka. Understanding now, Toka gently placed Sandalpin on the ground and told him to use it to get through the icy barrier around Yoshino. Inside, Zadkiel's freezing aura was so strong that no one could get near. Tobiichi created a massive force field, lifting a whole building with it, intending to smash Yoshino. But Toka suddenly arrived and split the building in half with one slash. Seeing her, Ast immediately turned their attention to Toka and started attacking her instead. With the distraction in place, Shidu braved the freezing energy and made it through the barrier. It was tough, but he pushed through. Yoshino saw him, healed his wounds, and hugged her puppet with joy when he gave it back. He explained that he needed to kiss her to save her, and while he awkwardly tried to say it out loud, Yoshino blushed and kissed him first. The kiss sealed her powers, vaporized her spirit outfit, and the skies cleared up. Later on, Katori informed Shidu that Toka wouldn't be living with him anymore. Ratatoskr had finished building a proper house just for spirits. One morning, Toka and Yoshino saw a commercial on TV about a hot spring and asked Shidu to take them there. He told Katori, and although she wasn't thrilled, she agreed it was better to let the spirits relax than risk them losing control. Meanwhile, at AST headquarters, the match team's captain and her squad also decided to visit the same hot spring, calling it a mission, though it was clearly just an excuse to hang out. Tobiichi wasn't thrilled, calling her team ugly and saying they should be training instead. Right then, Shidu called her to ask if he could keep the book she gave him for a couple more days. As they talked, she overheard Toka's voice in the background. Furious, she crushed the ken in her hand from pure rage. Shidu, Riani, and the girls began their trip, but along the way, Toka got jealous of how Shidu treated Yoshino and ended up destroying their car. Meanwhile, As took a hidden underground train to the hot spring, pretending it was for terrain analysis. But their train broke down too, and they had to continue on foot. Shidu's group was already walking anyway because Toka had totaled their ride. Toka felt guilty, but Shidu reassured her he wasn't mad. Meanwhile, Fraxinus detected Ast heading toward the spirits. Unaware that Ast wasn't planning to fight, someone from the crew panicked and ordered barriers be set up to block them. So both sides started fighting for no reason, causing huge environmental damage. Back with Shidu's group, a sudden explosion forced them to hit the ground. Yoshino dropped her puppet and burst into tears, triggering freezing weather and heavy rain. Shidu calmed her down, promised to retrieve the puppet, and the rain instantly stopped. He ran into the chaos to find it while Ast and Ratatoskr kept clashing. He finally found the puppet, but just as he picked it up, another explosion came flying toward him. Right before it hit, Toka appeared in her spirit form and shielded him with a barrier. Seeing Toka in her astral dress, Ast almost attacked her again. But before Tobiichi could act, Toka vanished with Shidu in an instant. Afterward, Katori took Shidu and the girls to a super cheap hot spring location that a Fraxinus crew member found while on punishment duty. The Ast team also arrived, sticking to their original plan. Tobiichi, who only came because Shidu would be there, started searching for him, but couldn't find him anywhere. Meanwhile, a new member named Takemiya was introduced to the Ast team. They were shocked to hear that she once defeated a spirit. She sat next to Tobiichi while the captain showed the team footage of their last fight with Yoshino. Tobiichi asked Takemiya about the spirit she fought. Takemiya said it was very different from the ones they usually faced, which is why she got transferred to this squad. While watching the screen, Takemiya spotted Shidu and was surprised. Tobiichi looked nervous. After the meeting, she told Takemiya that Shidu never mentioned having another little sister. Takemiya asked if she knew him, and Tobiichi casually replied that she and Shidu were lovers, leaving Takemiya absolutely stunned. Soon after the chaos, a new student transfers into Shidu's class. Her name is Kurumi, and the moment she introduces herself, she casually announces that she's a spirit, shocking everyone in the classroom. She then says she needs someone to show her around the school after classes. One eager guy volunteers, but she completely ignores him, walks straight over to Shidu's desk, and says he's the one she wants. The entire class is stunned, and Shidu is beyond confused. At AST headquarters, they confirm that this new girl is indeed a spirit, and Takemiya tells the team that Kurumi isn't just any spirit, she's terrifying. Kurumi has personally wiped out over 10,000 people, and that's not even counting the deaths caused by her spacequakes. The AST soldiers are left speechless. Later that day, Shidu meets up with Kurumi as planned, unaware that Toka and Tobiichi are secretly following and spying on them. While talking, Shidu, following the dumb advice from the Fraxinus crew, awkwardly asks Kurumi the color of her under. Instead of getting mad, Kurumi smirks, teases him, and makes a very suggestive move before he stops her just in time. Trying to change the subject, Shidu asks why she called herself a spirit. Kurumi says not to act like he doesn't already know, making him even more confused. When he asks how she knows so much about him, she refuses to give any answers and instead leans in close, saying she's liked him ever since she heard about him. She suddenly grabs his hand and flirts hard, making Shidu seriously question what he's gotten into, until the two spies fall out of hiding and accidentally reveal themselves. As they part ways, Kurumi whispers something wild in Shidu's ear, "Next time we're alone, I'll eat you." Shidu turns pale and thanks the heavens that Toka and Tobiichi interrupted when they did. Who knows what might have happened otherwise. On her way out of school, Kurumi crosses paths with a group of cocky guys trying to mess with her. She plays along, pretends to agree to go with them, then lures them to a hidden spot where she literally devours them. Takemiya shows up just in time, but Kurumi disappears before anything can happen. A few minutes later, Takemiya runs into Shidu, who's walking home with Toka and Tobiichi. Out of nowhere, Takemiya jumps at him, calling him big brother and hugging him tightly. Shidu is left wondering who this girl even is. She follows him him home excitedly, super hyped that her big brother is alive. Katori, however, gets irritated and the two girls argue over who's the real sibling. Later, Shido asks Takemiya where she's been all this time. She dodges the question and quickly leaves, leaving everyone wondering what she's hiding. The next day in class, the homeroom teacher starts roll call and realizes that Kurumi isn't present. Everyone's confused. Why would a new student already be skipping school? Takemiya confidently says she won't be showing up again, only for Kurumi to walk in seconds later like nothing happened, surprising everyone. During lunch, Shido gets a secret message from Katori, asking him to meet in the physics lab. When he gets there, she and Riani show him shocking footage of what happened the previous day. With Takemiya, ambushed Kurumi and totally obliterated her. But now she's back in school like nothing happened. They have no idea how she survived. Meanwhile, Tobiichi meets Kurumi in the locker room and bluntly asks how she's even alive after yesterday's attack. Without warning, creepy shadowy hands rise from the floor and pin Tobiichi down. Kurumi looks down at her and says all their efforts are a waste of time. When Tobiichi asks what her goal is, Kurumi casually reveals that she came to the school for one reason. She wants Shido and everything inside him. Later after school, Shido approaches Kurumi and nervously asks her on a date. He's only doing this because Katori ordered him to, hoping they could learn more about her. Kurumi smiles, thrilled, and says yes. As she walks away, Tobiichi appears and demands to know what Shido was doing with the devil. He dodges her questions and quickly walks off. Back home, Toka does a weird dance in front of Shido and pulls out a ticket from between her. She's scheduled a date with him for the next day. He's speechless. Right after, Tobiichi also calls him and asks him to meet her the next day too. Now Shido's in deep trouble. The next day, he has to juggle 3 girls in one day, making sure none of them find out about the others. Fraxinus agrees to help him manage this disaster. He starts with Toka at the aquarium and after some time, fakes a stomachache to slip away. He races off to meet Kurumi, who drags him into a lingerie shop to pick out some sketchy outfits. While there, a few classmates see him and start to approach. Shido fakes another stomach emergency and bolts. He then heads to meet Tobiichi at a restaurant. She tells him she was worried he'd be alone and that he should come stay at her place afterward, catching him completely off guard. Just as they're about to eat, Shido spots Toka running across the street and starts choking. He dashes off again. He keeps running around trying to balance all 3 dates, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. On top of that, his classmates are still trying to expose him. Luckily, Yoshino appears out of nowhere and distracts them. Later, finds a quiet spot by the forest to catch his breath. That's when he spots a group of shady people torturing a cat for fun. Kurumi shows up, ready to join in just to make things worse. Suddenly, the Fraxinus team loses all signals from her, making everyone panic. At the same time, Toka and Tobiichi run into each other and realize Shido has been juggling them both. They assume he's with a third girl now and go storming off to find him. Shido returns to where he left Kurumi, but she's gone. Katori calls and tells him they've detected a huge spirit energy surge in the forest. He rushes in and is horrified to see blood everywhere, and even a severed foot. Then he sees Kurumi, grinning wickedly while gunning someone down with her clock eye glowing. Shido turns to run, but shadowy hands grab him and drag him back. Kurumi pins him down and says she's ready to make him her next meal. Just as things are about to get ugly, Takemiya appears and launches a full-on assault using her weapon, slashing Kurumi and severely injuring her. Shido is horrified and asks how she can be so cold about this. Takemiya says she's just doing her job, taking down spirits. She adds that Kurumi is a rare type who keeps reviving no matter how many times she's killed, which is why she must keep hunting her down. Even when Shido tries to defend Kurumi, Takemiya shuts him up and traps him in a barrier. Later that evening, Toka drags Shido away to hang out, and during their time together, he shares his doubts about Kurumi. He wants to stop her from hurting anyone else, but he doesn't know how to approach her. Toka calmly tells him that Kurumi is still a spirit, just like her and Yoshino. She says the only difference is that someone cared about her, while no one did the same for Kurumi. If Shido hadn't reached out to her, she might have turned out just like Kurumi too. Inspired by her words, the next day Shido meets Kurumi and tells her he wants to save her. She doesn't react emotionally. Instead, she runs off to the school rooftop and causes a full-on blood-soaked incident to see if Shido is serious about helping her. Cameras around the school get stained in blood, students collapse, and chaos erupts. Meanwhile, Takemiya storms into Katori's office, furious that she keeps sending Shido into danger without backup. She tells Katori she's taking full responsibility for him from now on. Katori laughs and says she'd never leave Shido in the hands of a corrupt company like Deus Ex Machina. Takemiya is shocked Katori knows about her ties to them. Katori reveals she knows Takemiya was transferred from their unit. Takemiya admits she owes that company everything and can't abandon them. But Katori drops another bomb. Fraxinus analyzed Takemiya's saliva and found that the company injected her with massive amounts of spirit energy, cutting her lifespan to just 10 years. Takemiya is speechless, she never knew. Before they can say more, they both get a call. Something terrible is happening at the school. They immediately rush out to face it. While chaos was breaking out on the rooftop, Shidu noticed something strange. Toka and Yoshino were both writhing in pain, completely overwhelmed, while he seemed perfectly fine. Confused, he asked Riani what was going on, and she explained that both Toka and Yoshino's spirit powers were currently sealed inside of him. That's why they were reacting and he wasn't. Suddenly, Kirumi's voice echoed from above. She was calling him to come up to the rooftop if he had something to say to her. Without hesitation, Shidu took off. Tobiichi, meanwhile, activated her mech gear and also made her way up, but before she could reach the roof, one of Kirumi's creepy clones blocked her path. Down below, Toka realized Shidu was walking into serious danger, so she forced herself to unlock her sealed powers, but right as she did, another version of Kirumi jumped her and attacked. On the rooftop, Shidu finally came face to face with Kirumi, who was standing calmly in the middle of a magical barrier. He asked her what in the world she was doing, and she explained it was a special trap called the Time-Eating Castle. It drained time from anything that stepped into her shadow. She also pointed to the glowing clock in her left eye, telling him it kept track of her remaining lifespan. Using magic cost her time, so to refill it, she stole it from others. Kirumi then told him the real reason she came to the city. She wanted him. And not romantically, she literally wanted to consume his time by devouring him. Shidu offered himself to her as long as she promised to leave the others alone. But she told him she wasn't interested unless he took back all the nonsense he said earlier about trying to save her. Shidu begged her to stop the barrier but insisted he still believed she could be saved. That just made her mad. In her rage, she triggered a full-blown spacequake. Alarms blared through Fraxinus. Riani quickly informed Shidu that Kirumi's mental state was shifting. She was scared, not angry. Realizing this, Shidu climbed onto the railing and threatened to throw himself off the building if she really wanted to eat him. Kirumi told him to quit acting, but Shidu suddenly leapt off. Shocked, Kirumi dove down and caught him mid-fall before he hit the ground. While she held him, he told her he'd rather die than give up on her, and demanded she erase the blood that had stained the. She snapped her fingers, and it vanished instantly. Shidu then started trying to reason with her, telling her she didn't have to live this way. As if she was starting to listen, she slowly reached for his hand. But just then, one of her clones stabbed her through the back and absorbed her body into itself. Shidu was caught in the arms of the clone, who started to reach for him, but Takemiya burst in, sliced off the hand, and jumped in to protect him. Kirumi, now as her clone self, summoned a custom-made gun and timepiece. With a single shot, she reversed time, regrew her injured arm, and instantly reappeared behind Takemiya to blast her again. Toka and Tobiichi arrived on the rooftop, but before they could help, Kirumi summoned an army of her clones. She explained to Takemiya that no matter how many times she was defeated, she could never die, because she existed in countless versions, each from a different timeline. She then restrained them both and activated another massive spacequake. But Katori suddenly teleported in, stopping it with a powerful energy wave of her own. Now dressed in her own spirit outfit, shocking everyone, she summoned her weapon, ready for battle. A huge fight broke out. Katori clashed with Kirumi in a fierce back and forth. Just when Katori seemed to be gaining the upper hand, Kirumi froze time, called in every clone she had, and unleashed a storm of attacks. She then walked up to Katori and fired a bullet into her skull, knocking her down. Kirumi started laughing, thinking she'd won. But right in front of her, Katori's wounds healed, and she stood up again like nothing happened. Stunned, Kirumi ordered her army of clones to swarm, but Katori exploded them with a shockwave. Desperate, Kirumi shot herself to trigger more power, draining herself but severely weakening Katori. Kirumi charged up for a final strike, but Katori summoned a massive cannon-like weapon and blasted all the incoming clones, destroying Kirumi's time clock in the process. Weakened, Kirumi collapsed. Katori charged up again for a finishing blast, but Shidu panicked. Afraid she might kill Kirumi, he ran in to stop her just as she fired. The shot hit him instead. Katori froze, realizing she had just attacked her brother. Later, Shidu woke up in a hospital bed, sweaty and dazed from a strange dream where he saw himself and Katori trapped in a fiery battlefield. Riani was there and told him everyone survived, although Kirumi escaped. She laid his head on her chest and comforted him gently. After he recovered a bit, Riani took him to Katori's room. He asked Katori straight up if she was a spirit. She replied that she was human, though the data said otherwise. She explained she was born human, but about 5 years ago, she somehow gained the powers of a spirit. Shidu remembered his dream and told her about it, and she was surprised how accurate it sounded. When he asked how she got her powers, she said her memories were hazy. They figured someone must have erased them. He asked how she had managed to keep her powers under control this long. Katori said it was thanks to him. He was the one who sealed her powers 5 years ago, though neither of them remembered doing it. That's why Ratatoskr picked him to seal other spirits. Shidu asked why he had healing powers, and Katori explained that it was because of her spirit energy inside him. She then punched him in the gut and said he nearly died earlier. If she hadn't snapped out of her berserk mode, she might have finished him off. He asked if her powers would go back to him like with Toka and Yoshino. She said no, because she had fully regained her spirit energy. He would need to seal her again the same way, by making her fall in love with him and kissing her. Suddenly, Katori collapsed from exhaustion. Rieni rushed in and later told Shidu that Katori could only hold her powers for 2 more days. If he didn't seal them again soon, she'd completely lose herself and become something dangerous. Later, Shidu went to the hospital to visit Takemiya but wasn't allowed in, so he met with Toka instead. As they spoke, she asked him about the mysterious flame spirit who appeared during the fight with Kurumi. Shidu claimed he didn't know. She looked concerned and explained that 5 years ago, a flame spirit had burned her parents alive right in front of her, and ever since, she had joined Ast in hopes of finding and stopping that spirit. Determined, Shidu started getting ready for his upcoming date with Katori. But instead of preparing seriously, he spent most of his time hanging out with the other girls. That night, he met with the vice commander of Ratatoskr, who told him he had footage from the fire 5 years ago, the same day Katori turned into a spirit. Shidu watched the video and noticed something weird, a strange figure standing next to him and Katori that day. He guessed that being might have triggered Katori's transformation. As he tried to recall more, he passed out from mental overload. The next day, the date day, he met with Katori. He tried using every flirting tip he found online, but nothing was working. He panicked, realizing that if things kept going like this, he'd never be able to save her. Later, Katori stepped away for a bit, and Shidu sneaked off to talk with Fraxinus about new pickup lines. While doing that, he caught sight of Rieni tending to Katori, who looked like she was in pain. Furious, Shidu hid nearby and overheard their conversation. He learned that Katori had been secretly taking stabilizing drugs to keep her powers in check, but didn't want Shidu to know because she didn't want him to date her out of pity. Shocked, Shidu returned to the beach where they were supposed to meet. When Katori came back, he ditched the earpiece he was using to talk to the crew, deciding to follow his heart instead of their bad advice. He invited her to an amusement park, determined to do things his way. Meanwhile, Tobiichi met with her superior, who showed her new tech designed to combat high-level spirits. Tobiichi asked if it could defeat the mysterious flame spirit from the footage 5 years ago. Her superior looked confused and said that spirit looked a lot like someone they'd seen recently. Tobiichi demanded to see the footage, and was stunned when she saw the spirit of flames was actually Katori. Back at the amusement park, Shidu and Katori enjoyed their time together, laughing and bonding. After a while, they sat down to talk. Katori, clearly in the mood, looked at Shidu, waiting, expecting him to finally kiss her. Meanwhile, Tobiichi's superior received a disturbing report. Some of the newest anti-spirit tech had vanished, along with several other classified weapons. As soon as she saw the details, she remembered Tobiichi recently asking if that new gear could take down the spirit of flames. That's when it hit her. Tobiichi must have stolen the equipment to take on Katori by herself. Shidu, still confused about everything, tried asking Katori about what really happened 5 years ago. But before she could answer, a powerful blast hit her out of nowhere, knocking her off her feet. He turned to see who attacked, and couldn't believe it. Tobiichi stood there, armed and deadly, saying she just took out Katori. But Katori suddenly got back up, looking completely unharmed, and called her an idiot for thinking it'd be that easy. Tobiichi didn't waste time. She launched a barrage of cannon fire at Katori. In response, Katori transformed into her spirit form and summoned her weapon, and the two of them started trading brutal attacks, shaking the entire amusement park. On the other side of the park, Toka and Yoshino felt the shockwaves and realized something serious was going on. Toka decided to help, even though her powers were sealed. Yoshino's puppet tried to stop her, but Toka insisted. Shidu was risking everything for Katori, and she had to do the same. She suited up, and Yoshino followed her lead. Back in the fight, Katori was holding her own, but her energy was fading fast. Tobiichi took advantage and trapped her with energy ropes before preparing a massive cannon blast. Katori barely blocked it with her last bit of strength, but instead of backing down, she charged at Tobiichi and started damaging her weapons, knocking out parts of her gear. Katori, losing herself to rage, went completely out of control. Shidu screamed at her to stop, but she ignored him and summoned a finishing blast. Just as she was about to strike, Tobiichi cried out that this was exactly how her parents died, burned by a spirit just like Katori 5 years ago. That stopped Katori in her tracks, and she collapsed in shock. Tobiichi powered up another shot, but Katori managed to block it again. Shido rushed in between them and begged Tobiichi to stop. She refused, saying this was her mission for the past 5 years. He asked if she was trying to destroy the flame spirit or just his sister. Confused, she told him that Katori was the flame spirit. She got ready to fire again. Right then, Toka and Yoshino jumped into the scene, distracting Tobiichi just long enough for Shido to grab Katori and run. While the others fought, Shido confessed his feelings to Katori, embarrassing her. She admitted her feelings too, and the two kissed, sealing her spirit powers, healing Shido's wounds, and ending the threat. Afterward, Shido turned to Tobiichi and said if she really wanted to fight the spirit of flames, she was aiming at the wrong person. That power now lived inside him. He explained that someone else was responsible for Katori's transformation 5 years ago. Tobiichi didn't fully understand, but her body gave out from exhaustion, and she collapsed. Elsewhere, Kurumi reappeared in another part of the city. Back at Fraxinus, Rioni surprised Shido by saying the date with Katori didn't actually boost her affection levels. They were already maxed out. Shido was stunned. Katori turned red with embarrassment and kicked him in the face, blaming the data machine for being broken. After things calmed down, Katori told the crew that her memories of the incident from 5 years ago were slowly coming back. But since they couldn't rule out the idea that their memories had been wiped, she said they needed to start writing down anything they remembered, just in case. As she was leaving, Katori asked Shido if what he said during their kiss was really true. He replied that it was, except the part about loving her like a real girlfriend. He meant it in a sister way. Furious, Katori stormed off. A few weeks later, Shido woke up to a massive explosion. Running through the house like an anime character, he found Toka crying her eyes out. She had spilled juice all over his important notes and was convinced he'd hate her forever. With her emotions spiraling, she nearly triggered a mini spacequake. Shido, using his maximum calm mode, tried to cool her down. But then, he heard someone else screaming from the bathroom. He ran in and saw everything frozen solid. Yoshino was in a towel, pointing at her puppet in the bathtub. It had drowned, and she accidentally froze the whole room in panic. Shido pulled the puppet out, and the house slowly returned to normal temperature. Meanwhile, Tobiichi stood before a panel of officers who were about to decide her punishment for everything she had done. But before they could say anything, a smug, silver-haired man named Westcott showed up and interrupted. The entire mood shifted. Back at home, Toka and Yoshino secretly listened in on Shido and Katori having a sibling fight. Katori was annoyed at Shido for sleeping all the time, and Shido replied that he actually had school responsibilities. While making breakfast, he jokingly called it a meal for his 2 girlfriends. Meanwhile, 2 bitter girls from AS talked trash about Tobiichi's suspension. They said she was lucky they didn't kick her out completely, and they couldn't understand why someone from Deus Ex Machina, aka DM, had stepped in to protect her. Just as Shido was about to enjoy breakfast with his girls, he got a message from Tobiichi. She was waiting outside his house, and judging by her tone, she clearly wanted something physical. He left immediately. Before he could sneak out, Toka asked him to take her out instead. When he said he'd do it later, she and Yoshino sat down to watch a romantic drama about a man who leaves his wife, something that mirrored their own chaotic relationships. Outside, Shido found Tobiichi weirdly hiding behind a lamppost. She acted like he had invited her, even though he had no clue what she was talking about. She insisted they talk in private and dragged him into a public restroom. Shido freaked out as Tobiichi did something suspicious, lifting her skirt and making him panic. She teased that she wanted to show him her true self, but he wasn't having it. Eventually, Shido told her the real reason he came, to talk about that day she nearly killed his sister. He tried to convince her that Katori wasn't the spirit who ruined her life and begged her to believe him. After some stubborn back and forth, Tobiichi finally said she trusted him. She even thanked him for not turning her in for attempted murder. As they walked out, she randomly asked him if he was even human. Back at home, Toka was determined to play perfect housewife and decided to clean Shido's room. While tidying up, she found a suitcase that looked just like one from her favorite drama, a suitcase that usually meant someone was leaving. Panicked, she ran through the house looking for him and eventually found him in the women's restroom, with Tobiichi. Heartbroken, Toka collapsed in front of them, thinking she was about to be dumped. Through her tears, she asked why he'd choose someone like Tobiichi over her, someone who breaks down emotionally every 5 minutes. Shido chased after her. When he found her, she accused him of liking Tobiichi more. That's when Katori called and warned him that Toka's emotional state was spiraling, and worse, her spirit powers were slowly returning. Riani added that if the bond between her and Shidu weakened completely, a new spacequake might erupt. To prevent that, Katori told Shidu to do what he always does, take her on a date and rebuild the connection. Shidu later asked Toka out, hoping to calm her soul. But things got worse when she couldn't eat her favorite bread during the date. Her mood dropped harder than my ex. Back on the Fraxinus ship, Kanazuki came back holding a bunch of bread like it was a gift. Katori told him to give some to Shidu. Everything had calmed down now, and Toka returned home smiling and happily eating her bread. Later, Shidu packed a suitcase to help Tobiichi buy stuff for their school trip, just like he promised. But when Toka saw him holding a suitcase, she panicked. It reminded her of someone leaving forever, so she secretly followed him. At the train station, she saw him with Tobiichi and thought he was leaving her behind. Freaking out, she used her powers, grabbed Shidu's suitcase, and ran off. Since Toka's spirit powers were now out of control, the whole city went into alert. Shidu chased after her and finally found her in the park. He explained everything, that he wasn't running away, just going shopping. But her powers were already going wild, and she accidentally hurt him. Back on Fraxinus, Riani told everyone that Toka had reached the danger zone. Her spirit energy could destroy everything, including herself. But Katori told the crew to hold back. She trusted her brother to fix this. Shidu didn't give up. Even though he was in pain, he kissed Toka. That calmed her down and sealed her powers again. Elsewhere, Westcott got a report from Ellen, his assistant. She found the spirit called Princess again. The same one who vanished 3 months ago from Tengu City. She was now going to school at Raisin High under the name Itsuka Toka. Westcott was interested and wanted to dig deeper. At school, everyone was getting ready to fly out for the trip. But then came the big surprise. Toka showed up wearing a boy's school uniform. Shidu looked like he was about to faint because the shirt didn't even fit her properly. Everyone was speechless. The teacher said that wearing boy clothes didn't actually make her a boy, but Tobiichi stepped in and said that Toka had guts for doing it. She even joked that if Toka wanted to switch sides, then Shidu should move into the girls' dorm to match. Tired of all the drama, Shidu begged the teacher to let it go. She agreed and let Toka and Tobiichi sit next to Shidu on the plane. On Fraxinus, Katori got some strange info. The company paying for the school trip was actually owned by Deus Ex Machina. That was suspicious. On the plane, Shidu sat between Toka and Tobiichi, and they kept arguing the whole time. Tobiichi told him to look at the clouds. Toka got upset when he didn't look at the carpet. Then, a woman with giant glasses took a photo of Toka. Shidu didn't know who she was, but Tobiichi said she was the trip photographer. What she didn't say was that the woman, Ellen, was spying on them for DM. Ellen tried going back to her seat, but 2 nosy students kept asking her random questions. Annoyed, she walked off. When they landed on the island, Toka ran straight to the ocean. Shidu followed her, but their teacher said they had to visit a museum. Toka suddenly said she felt someone watching them and ran away. Ellen tried to go after her, but Mai and Mai showed up and distracted her by holding her hands and pulling her away. Shidu chased after Toka, and suddenly a strong storm hit. A trash can flew into Toka, knocking her out. As Shidu carried her, 2 new spirits appeared, fighting like crazy. One was Yuzuru, who wore a tiny outfit made of ribbons. The other, Kaguya, was dressed the same. They were arguing about who the real Yami was. Shidu tried to talk to them, but they said this was their sacred battle. Then Yuzuru said they had been fighting forever and getting nowhere. So, she suggested a new way to settle it. Whoever won Shidu's heart would be the winner. Back with the school group, Tobiichi was worried when Shidu didn't come back. She was about to go look for him when she saw him returning with the 2 new girls and an unconscious Toka. Seeing that the new girls had bigger curves, Tobiichi's jealousy exploded. At school, their teacher Tammy added Yuzuru and Kaguya to Shidu's class. The girls quickly became obsessed with him, always fighting for his attention. They even revealed that they were once a single spirit, but split into 2. Their goal was to see who deserved to exist when they joined back into one being. Shidu was overwhelmed. He went to the pool for peace, but both girls followed and got in the water. Kaguya told Yuzuru to try seducing him first, but Yuzuru knew it was a trap and refused. They started arguing again, now about who had the bigger chest. Shidu told them to calm down, but then the door opened, and Toka walked in wearing her swimsuit. She jumped into the pool and saw Shidu surrounded by the twins. He quickly explained they tricked him. But then, every other girl from the class ran into the pool, and Shidu had to swim away while covering himself. Toka helped him hide behind a rock so he could escape, but just as he tried to get out, he slipped and fell back into freezing water. Meanwhile, Ellen contacted her ship and told them to prepare a unit called Bandersnatch, just in case things got out of hand. Back at the resort, Yuzuru and Kaguya weren't done. They snuck into Shidu's room late at night, both trying to win him over. Shidu sat there, completely embarrassed, wondering why girls were always fighting over him. At the same time, Toka and Tobiichi argued over who would take care of Shidu. Their fight got louder until Mai and Mai told them to settle it properly. As the group walked towards Shidu's room, Ellen ordered Bandersnatch soldiers to surround the area. But when Ellen tried to peek in, a pillow hit her in the face, exposing her. Mai and Mai noticed her instantly. Inside the room, Shidu begged the twins to stop treating him like a prize. Outside, their teacher Tammy noticed the late-night noise and walked towards Shidu's door. Right as she got there, a completely naked Shidu tried sneaking out, but slipped and landed face first on her, flashing everything. Above Erubai Island, James Paddington and his team kept a close watch on the resort. When he didn't get any updates from Ellen, he immediately told his people to pull back all 3 Bandersnatch units. The next day, Shidu waited on the beach for Yuzuru and Kaguya. He was following Riene's plan, hoping to find a way to settle things peacefully. Riene suggested that if both girls were allowed to try winning his heart, they might follow her advice during the process, which would give them a little control over the situation. Shidu agreed, thinking that if they both grew closer to him, he might have a chance to seal both their powers. Riene warned him, though, because the twins were so competitive. Kissing one might make the other snap. Still, she believed this might be their best shot. Shidu promised he would do whatever it took to save them. After Riene signed off, the twins arrived in their swimsuits. Shidu told them they looked great, and they immediately asked him to rub sunscreen on them. That, of course, started another silly fight, each one claiming they had the better skin. Shidu's brain almost broke from all the skin he was seeing, so he decided to just rub lotion on both of them at the same time. Meanwhile, Ellen kept tracking Toka's movements, but before she could do anything, she got caught in a sand trap set by Mai and Mai. They buried her right next to Tanamachi, who told Ellen not to flirt with him because he already had an online girlfriend. Later, Toka and Tobiichi joined Shidu, Kaguya, and Yuzuru at the beach. Shidu noticed something strange. The twins already seemed close with the 2 girls. Kaguya said she had made Toka her teacher, and Yuzuru had picked up tips from Tobiichi, who was now her mentor. Tobiichi asked what they were all doing at the beach. Shidu struggled to answer until Riene showed up and said they were there to play volleyball. Shidu pulled her aside and asked why she came without warning. She said the plan had to change once Toka and Tobiichi joined in. The match began. Riene paired Shidu with the twins, while Toka and Tobiichi were on the other team. Shidu worried that none of them would be able to cooperate. Kaguya and Yuzuru were always fighting, and Toka and Tobiichi weren't exactly friends either. But Riene had a secret plan. At first, the twins couldn't work together, and Toka and Tobiichi easily took the lead. They even made fun of the twins for being so out of sync. That fired up Kaguya and Yuzuru, and soon they started working as a team. They scored points, cheered together, then instantly went back to bickering. Later, behind a small hut, Shidu met with Riene again and asked if this plan was really going to work. Riene wasn't so sure anymore. Just then, Kaguya showed up and nervously asked to speak with Shidu alone. Riene was surprised. It wasn't part of the strategy. Kaguya tried to act cool, but when Shidu looked at her kindly, she got flustered and blushed. Then she told him something surprising. She wanted him to choose Yuzuru instead of her. Soon after, Yuzuru also came to talk to Shidu, and told him to pick Kaguya instead. Without knowing what the other said, both girls asked Shidu to choose their twin. They didn't care about winning anymore, they just wanted the other to live happily. Shocked, Shidu asked if one of them would really disappear if he chose the other. They confirmed it. Kaguya said that's why she started the Battle of Charm in the first place. Yuzuru admitted she only accepted the challenge because she wanted Kaguya to be happy. They both said the other was cuter and more deserving to live on. Then they gave him a warning. If he didn't choose either of them, they'd destroy the entire island. That night, Shidu told Toka everything. But while he was talking, Kaguya and Yuzuru overheard him, which kicked off a new fight between them. Elsewhere, Tobiichi walked outside the hotel looking for Shidu but came across a lone Bandersnatch. Before it could attack, Riene appeared and asked what she was doing out there. Tobiichi hesitated for a second, and the robot launched at them. Back on Fraxinus, Kanazuki made a bold move. He launched a special unit called Folium and turned off the ship's invisibility, revealing their location. The ship quickly disappeared again, but not before Paddington recognized it as Ratatosker's airship. He immediately ordered his crew to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, the argument between Kaguya and Yuzuru got more intense. Both were angry at each other for being so selfless. They decided to end it once and for all, with a final duel. The last one standing would be the winner. They clashed hard in a fierce battle. Shidu tried yelling at them to stop, but they didn't listen. At the same time, Fraxinus was under heavy attack. Kanazuki, for some reason, was shaking in excitement. Seeing this, Shizaki contacted Katori and asked if he had realizing something was wrong. Katori demanded to know what was happening. Shizaki finally explained the airship was under attack, and they might not be able to hold out. Despite how serious things were, Katori stayed calm and told her team everything would be fine. as long as they followed Kanazuki's orders exactly. On Rubai Island, the fight between the twin spirits, Kaguya and Yuzuru, was still going strong. Shido watched from below and couldn't understand why they were fighting so hard when it was obvious they really cared about each other. Suddenly, Toka stopped him and said she sensed something nearby. They looked toward the forest and saw glowing lights, and then heard a voice they knew. It was Ellen. She stepped out from the shadows and said she had been waiting for the perfect time to confront Toka alone. But when she spotted the twins, she froze for a second and called them by their spirit code name, Berserk. Confused, Shido asked who Ellen really was and if she worked for Ast, but she denied it. Then she gave a signal to the Bandersnatch robots, ordering them to grab Toka. But before they could even reach her, Toka took them down with her spirit weapon, Sandalpun. Ellen now had proof Toka was definitely the spirit known as Princess. Calmly, she asked Toka to come with her. Toka refused and raised her sword at Ellen. Shido rushed in and begged her not to attack an unarmed person. But Toka stood firm. She said Ellen had a strange and dangerous aura, even worse than Ast soldiers. Right after that, Ellen suited up in her combat gear and said she'd fight Toka herself, no backup, just her. Without wasting time, Toka charged in with Sandalpun. The two clashed in the air, moving fast and hard. Ellen blocked a few strikes and called Toka weak. She broke through Toka's guard and shattered her sword, sending Toka crashing to the ground. Worried, Shido tried to run to her, but the Bandersnatch units blocked his way. Ellen told them to capture Toka and take her away. Shido, frustrated and helpless, suddenly shouted her name, and something crazy happened. All the Bandersnatch robots exploded. Sandalpun appeared in his hand, just like it had with Toka earlier. Both Ellen and Shido were shocked. Somehow, he had summoned Toka's angel. Meanwhile, Fraxinus and the enemy ship, Arbatel, were still fighting above like a full-on war was going on. Ellen smirked at Shido and told him she'd be taking him too. She ordered the remaining robots to capture him, even if they had to hurt him badly. Shido tried to fight back but was outnumbered. Toka watched helplessly, unable to help in her weak state. Just then, the Arbatel's side was hit, and the control room caught fire. With their power source damaged, the Bandersnatch robots shut down, giving Shido the chance to grab Toka and run. Ellen tried chasing them, but she fell into a trap, a hole set by Mai and Mai. The Bandersnatch robots accidentally dogpiled on her as she passed out, wondering who set the trap. Back on the ship, Arbatel lost communication with Ellen and had no choice but to retreat. Shido and Toka returned to the beach, but the twins were still fighting. Shido yelled for them to stop, but they didn't listen. Not knowing what else to do, he summoned Sandalpun and waved it around. Toka reminded him that the angel only works when the user's will is strong. She placed her hand on top of his and helped guide him. Shido took a deep breath, focused on his goal, and swung the sword. A blast of power shot out, cutting through the storm the twins had created and finally catching their attention. Shido told them he had a way to help. He could seal both of their spirit powers so they could live without disappearing. At first, the twins didn't trust him because, well, he's a guy. But when they imagined what life could be like, they agreed to give it a shot. Just then, the Arbatel ship came back, flying overhead. Paddington was determined to capture Toka and the twins. The twins glanced at each other and nodded. Together, they summoned their angels and combined their powers into a massive bow and arrow. In perfect sync, they fired and blew the ship out of the sky. After that, they turned to Shido, thanked him, and kissed him at the same time. Their astral dresses faded as their spirit powers got sealed inside him. But then, Toka appeared behind them, furious, demanding to know what Shido was doing. The twins jokingly told her that Shido pulled a weird move on them. Toka screamed his name loud enough to shake the beach. And that's where this video ends. If you want to see the next part, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Until then, watch this following video and I'll see you in the new one.